All right, I'll start this one. We'll see. We'll see how this one works out then. Instead, maybe it will work better than the last. YouTube really is not made for that. Well, let's put you over here. But now it's too dark. Let's find some white screen there. Let's find some white screen over there. I think we may be okay. Hey, Kiana's here, so at least I know this live stream is working. We got light over there. Okay, cool. So that should be good. What's going on, Kiana? In the building, it's just me and you tonight, girl. Just me and you tonight. All right. So trying to stay on at least on the day, I'm on the wrong time. But I figured I'd still jump on here and give a little weekly update. So from the last week, I think I actually missed last week. So 2-week update. What's been happening? So I kind of unexpectedly fell back into the 2-job thing. To where I had mentioned my old place that came back and kind of hired me back as a contractor. So to work on an old project. For some reason, after I left, like it seemed like everybody left. Yeah, extra late night live. Man, I swear I can't stay away from 2 jobs. I can't stay away when I try. After I left, the only other Angular dev that was there ended up putting in her 2 weeks too and leaving like less than a month after I did. So they called me back to come and work on the project that the 2 of us were working on before. Her last day was the 15th of March. So I came on to pick up one of the projects that she was working on. The both of us was working on before. And so I've been doing that. Still at 75 an hour instead of 80 an hour on the main gig, but still good money, but it's limited. The first contract I did for them was for 20 hours. So I did those 20 hours, and then they just emailed me over on Friday the second contract. It's these short-term contracts. This one's for 3 months though, but it's capped at 60 hours, so like 20 hours a month is what it is. They more wanted me there for advisory, but this last week they had a big push. They had a big push to get their project out, and they were shorthanded. So I ended up, instead of doing like 5 hours a week, which is what they want, I ended up doing 19 hours last week, I think, which is pretty much the budget for the whole month. So I'll have to get approval to go above that. I was reading the contract and it said approval above the $4,500 mark, which is what the 60 hours would be, right? I guess I didn't even calculate that out. I just assumed they did the math, right? 75 times 60. That's where my friend Alexa comes in. Alexa, what's 75 times 60?
75 times 60 is 4,500.
Yeah. Okay. So they got the number right. 4,500 for 60 hours, right? Over a 3-month time period. But yeah, we're gonna have to. It said anything above 4,500 has to be approved. So there might be weeks where they don't need me at all, which is cool too. It's all good. So we'll see how that goes. And then job number 1, main gig, has been going good too. It's definitely complex, man. Having that WordPress application with an Angular plugin in it, and then I did my demo last Tuesday, and they actually really liked the demo. The client said, as I was leaving, he kept me there for a few hours, going over the next step stuff that I need, which is like .NET, ASP.NET, entity framework stuff. that I have no clue about. Um, but I didn't tell the client that because I don't want the client to worry anymore. But we'll figure it out, to build the API. So that it's weird because there's a lot of moving pieces. Um, did I take the full course from the guy on LinkedIn, and did it really help? If how so? Um, Dang, I don't even remember what that course was about. Oh, it was about Angular in WordPress, right? Embedded inside of WordPress. I did piecemeal of that course, just the parts that I needed, Big Joe. Um, and yes, it did help me, but I didn't go through the whole thing from start to finish, type deal. But it did help, yes. The What else is going on? So I converted that app right from Angular 1 to Angular 2 or Angular 7, which is a big jump, of course. So there were issues that came up with that, but I think we got those worked out. Um, Man, so this thing is built, and this is classic, like big old enterprise issues. Like this company has been around for, well, the IT guy, head IT guy, has been there for over 20 years, right? Um, and they've got like, you know, in some ways, 20 years worth of technical data on stuff, to where um, I'll go into that in a second, Big Joe. How I went from 1 to 7. Well, the system is just combined of a lot of different parts instead of having your one over architecting, because they're not an IT shop, not 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 an IT shop. They're not a development shop, right? So they don't have on staff developers. They have IT people. Their shop just happens to be all male. So if I say IT guys, that's why. They have IT guys that do know some level of coding, right? So they've written code and stuff, but they're not full-time professional developers. You know what I'm saying? Or web developers, especially for the website. So you lean on technologies, or they would hire out contractors. There's a big contracting firm here in town called Levy Interactive, or Levy Online, or something like that. And they build a bunch of the city's websites, and they're a big WordPress shop, because when you're building brochure sites, you're using a CMS like WordPress. So they built this WordPress site, and to give it, the functionality it needs, you put plugins into WordPress. So they built an old Angular 1 app that did, what they needed it to do, to pull in some schedules from a third-party API source. Now we're adding to that third-party API source to bring in a reservation system, which is being built custom from the ground up for their needs. So that takes care of one piece of the pie, right? This reservation system's coming from this third-party company that has this API. That company handles scheduling, right? Scheduling for the instructors. This is a gym. So when you go take a class at a gym, there's a company that sells the software that allows instructors to book classes, to schedule them out for the next month or whatever. They schedule out all of their classes for different locations and different times and days of the week and all that stuff like that. Well, we're adding to it. What they didn't have before was a reservation system where the members can go and reserve a class, reserve a spot in a class. So that software did not have that functionality. The owner and creator of that software is adding that functionality in for us customly. On top of that, everything else that is driving the gym's software is like the gym's own .NET API. So there's a separate API for scheduling. There's another in-house API that drives everything else, that handles all the member stuff. And if you want to check out tiles and all that stuff, that's its own API written in ASP.NET, like Microsoft, right? So I have to interact both with that third-party API and this in-house .NET API, because that .NET API is what hits the database for the member stuff. So all the member stuff is in .NET. and hitting these databases and getting the information you need. Where has this member opted out of email and opted out of, you know, or whatever their stuff is, right? Um, in addition to this new credit system where they can purchase credits, and classes will require a certain amount of credits to reserve. So it's tied into the reservation system, tied into this .NET API and stuff. And then I have to add this credit component to it and tie in, create databases, separate databases for this new reservation stuff and all this stuff going on. And I didn't know that I would be responsible for doing those APIs until like last week in .NET, and I'm not a .NET developer. So this is one of those things when you're an independent contractor, like it gets thrown to you and you got to just catch it and run with it. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna figure it out. But at the same time, you can't be like just wasting time because you're billing a good rate. I'm sure they're billing the client over $100 an hour easy. So they're not doing that for me to be figuring it out. So there's a fine line and balance there as to what you can bill the client for and what you can't, kind of thing. So that being said, that's what's going on with me is kind of living in .NET world now, figuring that out and to get this stuff done. So that's it for job number one. Job number two. After that big push last week, the end of the week last week was real heavy in job number two because they were trying to get something out by Friday, and we got that accomplished. So hopefully job number two will be minimal, a couple hours a week, and it'll mostly be job number one, which is cool because when you bill out hourly, you don't really bill out for 40 hours, right? Because if you think about doing a normal day, part of that day is spent like checking emails and communicating back and forth with your home company, right? So that's not billable to any client. That is internal work within the company, and I don't get paid. There's no client to. I only get paid from client billable activities, right? So when I'm corresponding back and forth with members of my team or filling in my time card for the last week or 2 weeks or whatever it is, or checking emails and stuff that don't have to do with client stuff, like I'm not getting paid for any of that, right? So most independent contractors, if you work a 40-hour week, you don't have 40 billable hours to the client. You usually have anywhere from, take an hour a day out to do those common tasks, to be checking your emails and all that stuff. So you're really looking at maximum maybe 7 hours a day. Unless you're working over hours, unless you're working 9-10 hour days, then you may actually have 8 hours or 8.5, 9 hours of billable time. But if you're just working your 8-hour day, the max you can probably bill is like 7 hours. So that job number two kind of fills in that extra 5 hours. If I take an hour each day, Monday through Friday, that's 5 hours missing. And then if I pick up those 5 hours on job number two, now I've actually got a full 40-hour billable week at $80 plus $75 for job number two. So basically like $87, right? Or $77 an hour when you average it out. Actually, it's more than that because the bulk of it's coming from the one job. But anyway, so that's kind of how that thing works. It's very common to have, 5-hour billable days, 6-hour billable days, So just keep that in mind if you go independent. Like, don't calculate your rate times 40 hours if you just got one client, because that ain't what it is, which is why freelancers charge way more than what a W-2 person would charge, because you have to take into account you don't got benefits, right? So I have to pay for my own insurance, my own health insurance, all that stuff. I don't get PTO, so I don't get paid time off. So we're going on vacation for 2 weeks, coming up here in a few weeks. And any days that I miss are like, that's lost wages. And you don't get the full 40-hour billable thing. So therefore, these freelancers that be charging $100, $120 an hour, by the time you're done with it, that rate may actually come down 60%. 70, you may only get 70%, 60% of what your actual, billable is once you extrapolate that for annually for the year. You take 2 weeks off during a year that you're not paid for, you know, um, you have some sick days in there, you're only charging or billing 30 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week. All that chops into that, you know, hourly rate to where if you're charging $100 an hour, you may actually at the end of the year be getting paid like somebody um, that was getting $60 an hour, or $50 an hour. It might even be half of what you bill out, depending on how things work out. And if you can keep clients in the pipeline, you might get a $300 an hour client that you work for 3 months, and then you might have 6 months where you don't pick up no more work. So that averages out. That $300 an hour now becomes like, $50 an hour, $60, $80 an hour. So it's all, don't let your eyes get big because of the hourly rate. It's really how you work that throughout the year that matters, which is why I liked the situation on working with my buddy, because it's $80 an hour. Yeah, there are devs that's getting 130, $150 an hour. But I don't know if they have consistent work. What I have here is consistent work. I know that I can pretty much make this $80 an hour for all year long. You know what I'm saying? So we cool, we chilling. So that's been the biggest thing, is that stuff. So let's see. Did you take the full word? Yo. What's up, Kmar? What's up, Tim? In the building. How'd you get it from 1 to 7? It wasn't that bad going from 1 to 7, Big Joe, because there wasn't a whole lot of code. It was really like 2 pages. There was 2 Angular views that was being used. So it was a really simple application, right? So it wasn't a lot to rewrite. And I know, I could whip that stuff up pretty easily. And I converted it to Angular 7 and then added NGRX into it because we're going to have way more state going on now. So I wanted to have a good state management system in there to run all of that. So the biggest thing was getting the new way to work within WordPress was the biggest thing. So I know you do software programming, but do you know about cybersecurity? Not a ton, L Graves. I know there's cybersecurity courses out there, and when you get into cybersecurity, they have like different certificates and stuff like that. Like when you get into networking, they have CCIS and they, AMP, not AMP. That's aircraft stuff. I'm going back to my old military days, airframe and power plant. CCNA or CCNA, something like that. So all that stuff. SIP, SSIP or something like that. And I don't know much about those things at all. But I'm sure a good YouTube search would lead you to people that are heavy into cyber security. So, I mean, it's a big field because, with all the stuff going on, all the hacking going on, ransomware, stuff like that, hospitals get hit for ransomware stuff all the time. And, this whole political Russia hacking, manipulating Facebook, all this stuff like that. Cybersecurity has come to light as being very important. So that's not a bad field to get into. Glad to see you too, Tim. It's been a minute, man. Kirkwood, I didn't think there'd be a lot of people on today because I got on so late, but it looks like, there's people in the building. Is it mandatory to learn one back-end language for front-end positions? It is very nice to know. It depends on what you want to do. If you're going to work at a company, like I've worked at companies, when I worked at Allegiant, we didn't touch any back-end code. We lived in JavaScript and Angular, and that was it. When I worked at the startup, actually, this is the t-shirt for the startup. This is the company I used. It's no longer in existence. It was called Draft Ops. It was daily fantasy sports that was like military theme, which is where Draft Ops, like operations, comes in. But, every place you work at, you get swag. And so I've got a Draft Ops t-shirt. I think I still got the old Allegiant t-shirt. Every place I worked at, I have a t-shirt for. I got an old ClickFox t-shirt when I used to work there, like all those places. I've got a t-shirt for it. And I just wear them now. I just pull them out there. I literally just wear these around the house. Like this one's been dried, so it's like super medium and too short and all that, but I don't care because I work remote, so I throw them on and go to work. But when I worked at this place, all I did was Angular code. When I worked at the place after that, all I did was Angular code because they had dedicated back-end people, right? But once I got to, let's see, I started picking up Node stuff when I got to ClickFox. When I got to the place in Denver, I really started picking up some Node stuff. And the place after that, I had an opportunity to build Express servers to handle some authentication stuff back and forth. So I started teaching myself those skills. And then it came in handy. When you're freelance, if you want to freelance or if you want to work for a agency that's going to not build their own product, but they go out and build software for other clients, then yes, I would say it will be highly advantageous to you to pick up a back end language in addition to your front end skills. You need to be really solid in front end, but then pick up back end language as well. A lot of front end devs just go for Node because it's JavaScript. You're not having to learn new syntax and all that stuff like that. It's still you just learn the Express or Happy or what's one of the other Node frameworks out there? Express and Happy are the two that come to mind, but I know there's a couple more that are pretty popular as well. But just learn one of those two frameworks and how to stand up servers, how to connect to databases, and pull data and store data in databases and stuff. You learn Node, Mongo, you're pretty kosher. If you just want to live in the front end world, if you want to be a front end dev, learn Node. And when I say Node, that really means like learn Express or learn Happy.js or one of those frameworks, because Node is the underlying language, but the framework is really where all the magic happens. It's just like JavaScript is the underlying language, but Angular is the framework where all the magic happens, or React is the library where all the magic happens, even though JavaScript is the base language. So that's kind of the deal there. Really good courses for learning Node is the one by Tony Alicata called, I forget what it is, but if you go to Udemy and you type in Node.js, there'll be an instructor's first name, Tony or Anthony, Alicata or something like that is his last name. He really pulls back the curtain on Node and teaches you how it works under the hood. So you're not just, learning these Node API functions, you're really learning. That's it. Big Joe just posted it right there. Tony Alicia, how do you say that? Alicia? I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but really good instructor. He's only done a couple of courses. He did I think it was Angular 1, maybe even. He did an Angular 1 course. Alicia. Yeah, Alicia. However you say it. Anyway, Big Joe put it down there for you. So that's my recommendation there for front end positions, and you should be good there. And then you're kind of well-rounded because you also learn the concepts, and the concepts will translate to any other language as well. Like I'm doing this .NET stuff now, and I don't know .NET syntax or how to make things happen, but I can Google that and look that up. As long as I know the underlying concepts of, okay, I need to get this data, I need to, munge it or manipulate it in this way, and I need to return that data back to my Angular application, right? That's the overall flow. Once you learn that flow, then you just have to learn, I know what I need to do, how do I do it in .NET? And then you just go look that up and you figure it out and keep it moving. So this is some information probably for the person that asked about cybersecurity. Big Joe is saying, oh, Hold on, is it Vanity? Say I'm pretty. Just popping in and say hello. I'm off to bed. Good night. Good night. I appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you coming through. Tyler Benz, what's going on? You can get into it with CompTIA or Cisco security certificates to get the entry level jobs, and with experience and more certs, progress higher. There you go. There's some good information for you. L. Graves from Big Joe there, full of information and great questions as always. Osea Mullen, I'm learning HTML5, learning with Udemy. There's a lot of little things to learn. There is a lot of little things to learn, but the great thing about it is once you learn it, like it's kind of like riding a bike. Once you learn it, like you'll never forget it because those things stay constant. If you're doing web development, the stuff you learn for HTML5, you're going to use on every project, because that's the foundation. Every website has HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Like that holy trinity is on 99.9% of websites. So once you learn those fundamentals, like you're good there. Then you just start pulling in higher level stuff, right? You're usually working in JavaScript world, or if you're more designy, lean in than CSS world, and you've got those basics down, and then you're just looking for, okay, I got this advanced feature. How do I go about accomplishing this in CSS or in JavaScript, depending on if you're doing logic coding or you're doing design styling. Stick with it though. Most people quit. I think of that Seth Godin book, The Dip. You start learning something, there's going to be a dip, right, where it gets hard before it gets easy. Most people quit in the dip. I'm telling you, I've seen so many people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I'm starting to learn," and then you run into them 6 months later or a year later, and they ain't doing development. They're doing something else, and there's always a reason or excuse behind why they ain't doing development anymore. Oh, this happened or that happened, and I'm doing this now, and I really dig it, and I like it, and it's really cool. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, yeah, sure, okay. You fell victim to the dip. Trust me, I know the dip. It will knock you out of the park. Oh, I remember those days, man. It takes me back to where I was living in that little condo, and I was going to the Starbucks around the corner to try to like banging my head on this thing, and it would be like some small syntax thing that I didn't know. I missed a dollar sign in PHP or some stupid thing that would drive me crazy for like a whole day, hours, or a day, or 2 days, or oh my God, it was crazy. Because I just didn't know those fundamentals. Getting through those fundamentals is like, oh, it's such a grind. And now I look back on it, I'm like, dude, that's so easy. Like, I used to get caught up on syntax all the time, but now it's like you just know. Yeah, I don't even think about the syntax of doing something. You're just doing. Which is like riding a bike. You don't think about having to balance, and when you turn to counter lean and all that stuff, you just do it. It's automatic. You're concentrating on going where you're going. You're not thinking about the pedaling and the leaning and the balancing and the all that stuff. Right? That's fresh on my mind because my daughter just learned to ride her bike, without training wheels, and so seeing that progression of like first she could just ride, she's shaky and riding it and can't keep it straight. And then she gets to where she can keep it straight now. And then the next week goes by and she's pedaling it good and up the hill. And then she sees her brother standing up and she can't stand up because she ain't got those motor skills down. And then like a week goes by and the next thing you know, she's standing up and she's pedaling so you get to see that going. And now she jumps on that bike and she's gone, and I'm like, dang, to see her go from, can't even do it without training wheels to, now she's just gone. And I got to watch those steps and it reminded me of like learning to code. It's like those frustrating steps, and the falling and but if you stick with it, you gone. And your brain progresses to another level where you're not even thinking about those fundamentals that you're struggling with now. You're looking at the bigger picture, architecting your solution. So Ramsey says MongoDB is no fun right now. It's kind of cool though when you pick it up. I'm telling you, when you start to be able to manage your data in MongoDB, um, it's a bunch of light bulb moments and magical moments, man. I'm telling you. So um, that's the big thing. Once you really get it down, then you want to use Mongo for everything, and you got to follow. You got to make sure you don't fall into the trap of using the same tool to fix every problem, because sometimes a good old relational database may be the best solution, but you know Mongo really good, so you're trying to make Mongo work for everything, and it's not always the right tool. So uh, Tim said, give your little brother his shirt back. I'm gonna get you, Tim. I'm gonna get you for that one, man. Hey, I self-proclaim it's a medium, man. It's a medium. It's all good though. I don't mind one bit. What resources are you going to use to learn um, .NET? So my good old friend Google is a good one. The head IT guy walked me through, where the .NET API is at, and walked me through some of the existing classes that are there to use as an example. So I start off with the existing code base and just looking at how it is accomplishing certain things now, and then just mimicking that. So it's like, I don't know what this does, but this does this over here. I don't know how it does it, but it does this thing over here, and I need to do the same thing over here. So I'm just gonna copy what they did over here and see if it works over here. And then when that starts breaking, then you pull out your old Swiss Army knife called Google and you start Googling. And then you slow down once you start getting into it and seeing the stuff. And then usually at that point, it's almost reversed for me. I'll start off doing, because I like to do and start seeing some results and breaking stuff. And then I'll go back and like watch a course, do a full course like over a weekend or something. And then it starts filling in the blanks for me. Like, oh, this is how it works, But that's my way of learning. I'm like dyslexic almost, where I learn backwards, things. I do things backwards and learn backwards from the normal way. So don't listen to my way of doing it. Figure out your way of doing it. But that's what works for me. I like to jump in and get to doing and then go back and fill in the gaps. Because if I start from the tutorial without any reference to how this is going to help me or how this will apply to my problem, it's hard for me to stick in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to get in and figure out what my problem is and see the code and the stuff. And then it's like, okay, I see it and I can't figure it out. Let me go learn and fill in these gaps. And then that way works for me, Big Joe said, I'm totally botching it. I know I can't pronounce that name right, man. Well, and can't find time to study. I did a video on that. If you go look through my channel, how to find time to study. I'm telling you, I did that video. Just listen to that video. It'll give you some ideas, man. You got to start finding. You got to find little corners and little niches, or I don't know the right word for it. Just little. You got to find these little moments of time in your day to make something happen. I used to, when I was working, I'd go to work early and sit downstairs in the cafeteria in the basement, jump on the Wi-Fi, and I'd go through a few videos or do a coding challenge or something like that, just working my way through the course. Or I stayed after work when I got off, because I got kids at home and they were little at the time. And so when I hit the door, there was not going to be any studying going on. I knew that until they went to bed. So if you got kids, put them to bed. Like, I just literally went upstairs and put mine to bed. Like, I put them in the bed and I sit there in their room, because they share a bunk bed. They have their own rooms, but my daughter won't sleep by herself. So we got bunk beds in my son's room. So she sleeps on the top bunk, he sleeps on the bottom. I go in there and sit. I put they got a little space light thing that put the planets on, and my son likes that. It's his room. And then I put on Baby Mozart on my phone, and I sit there with my laptop and I'll watch some YouTube videos. I'll sit in there for 30 minutes or whatever, and they lay there, lights off, until they fall asleep. Boom. and now they sleep. I literally have from now, which is what, 9? It's almost about to be 9 o'clock here on the West Coast, Pacific time, Vegas time. I got from now until I fall asleep, which I don't go to bed until midnight every night. So that gives me 9, 10, 11, 12. I got 3 solid hours of learning. I might start getting tired about 10:30 or 11. So that gives me an hour and a half before I even start getting tired, or 2 hours before I start getting tired. And you do that consistently every night. It don't seem like a lot, but over time it starts adding up. And you can work through it and get it done on the weekends. Instead of going to hang out, I go to Starbucks and, put in an hour or 2 at Starbucks. And, I order my little passion tea lemonade and sit that down. That way I done bought something. They don't bother me. And I sit down and I do an hour, 2 hours of going through courses. And, once you get the foundation down, then you start building stuff. That's the biggest accelerator to your learning, is actually building stuff. Most people have an idea. If you have an idea that you can build as a website, some kind of web application, build it. And that will accelerate your learning way more. Plus, it gives you something to put in your portfolio to talk about on job interviews, or to even get you a job interview. So that's kind of the deal there. Big Joe, you should let us know what you like about .NET once you get used to it. I will. I'll definitely do that. Vegas is a big .NET city. So if it was something that I really wanted to dedicate myself to and get into, like, there's actually work that I could get as a .NET developer. Actually, my buddy is having trouble finding a .NET developer to work on some of the projects that we have, because they're in such demand here in Vegas. Like, you just can't. The main guy we had working on .NET stuff here, his name was Joe Mayo, and he's actually a kind of one of those big figures in the .NET community. He's like a Microsoft professional. You know how Google has those GDEs, Google Development Expert or something like that. People that don't work for Google, but they specialize in a certain Google technology, and Google recognizes them in the community for giving back to the community. Well, he's like that for .NET and Microsoft. So Microsoft recognizes him for all his contributions back to the .NET community. So he's highly sought after. He travels around doing the speaking circuit and stuff at different Microsoft events. So he's like a top-notch .NET developer. The problem is he got poached by this other company that's offer him a crap load more money. So now he's gone. So it's hard to keep good .NET developers here in town. So if I wanted to learn .NET, I could be a very valuable asset for different companies here in town. I could be a very valuable asset for my buddy's company that I'm working with, So it is a big deal. But I'll definitely give you feedback on the .NET and how it's going, man. Things I like, the things I don't like. Because this is me going back to the beginning. Like, I don't know this language or technology, so I'm going to be feeling like Jose Mullen there, where he says it's rough. Or whoever said learning MongoDB is rough. Like, learning .NET is rough for me right now, Angular, I can do in my sleep with my eyes closed. Angular, NGRX, writing reducers and actions and effects and writing tests, and I can do it in my sleep. I'm very comfortable there. Learning .NET, I'm back to baby stage, I got my training wheels back on again. So I feel the pain, and that will be a constant. If you're a developer, you have to be a constant learner. If you don't like the learning process that you're going through now, you probably won't like being a developer, because you will never be comfortable. I'm comfortable in Angular, but there's constantly other things being thrown at me that I'm uncomfortable with. So you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, if that makes sense, and willing to learn all the time. That dip is like Sugar Ray Leonard. Yes, it is. Y'all better stay on and out here. Please, no dip. I hate my current job. Yeah, man. That was my motivation. I was working as a concierge and front desk down at the Strip at a hotel. And that was my motivation, because I had to go to that job every day because I had to feed my family. So I was reminded every day, fool, if you don't learn that stuff, this is what you're going to be doing every day. Like, it don't get no more in your face than that, because you got to go to that job every day and check people in and listen to people moaning and complaining about, They ruined. I found the hair on my sheet in my bed. Like, yeah, look. Oh man, it's just crazy. Somebody left a beer bottle at the pool, and I tripped over it. And, they're yelling and screaming at just all kinds of, you know. Everybody knows Vegas, so if you can imagine, people come to Vegas to get wild and crazy. Imagine being one of the employees at one of the hotels on the strip when people come here to get wild and crazy all the time. Like, it is not fun. So that gave me immense motivation to stick with it and to start putting out resumes before I was ready, to be a coder and to, you know, take that leap and jump. Because I was like, even if I just get paid the same amount I'm getting paid in the hotel, which was only like 30,000, 35,000 something, which is like peanuts for developers, right? I said, even if I only get paid that, I would rather be getting paid to do that than I would to be getting paid to work in that hotel, you know. So I was willing. I was willing to do about anything to get out. So I've been listening in the background for a while. So what's going on, Burkay? Welcome in. Welcome in. Uh, I used to be in his live streams a lot. You must remember. I remember Burkay. Yeah, it like it's been forever. Like, I ain't seen you in 10 years. Nah, you've been there. You've been there. You're part of the OG crew. Is project-based training the best with some fundamentals involved? How was the Treehouse training? Treehouse was good for me. Full disclosure, I haven't used Treehouse extensively in, it's probably been 2 years now, if I want to be honest. When I did use Treehouse, though, I used it heavy, boy. If you go on there and look at my profile and score, I was always in like the top 500 for points and all that stuff. I might still be hanging around there, even though I ain't used it in 2 years, because when I was on the platform, I was on it heavy. So I liked it a lot. That teaching style worked very well for me. There are other places that have different teaching style, Code School, Gamify stuff. There's Code Academy out there, Udemy's out there. There's a bunch of other stuff. And then YouTube people have sites, Traversing Media and all those guys that's on there have, there's a plethora of places to learn from now. Egghead.io is, I use that more now than I do Treehouse. I use Egghead and Pluralsight probably the most now. And that's when I need to go deep into one topic. Actually, Pluralsight is probably the resource that I'm going to use to answer your question about what resource I use to learn .NET. Pluralsight will be the first place that I go to, and that's just what it is. I don't even know if Treehouse has .NET stuff, but I'll definitely go to Pluralsight to do that .NET stuff. I'm graduating from my 2-year web dev college course in 2 weeks. And we'll move to Toronto to find jobs. Wish me luck, guys. Good luck, Burkay. Definitely, man. 2 weeks, half a month, and you are gone. I hear Toronto's a great tech city as well, tech hub. So there should be plenty of opportunities there for you to do as well. I know Vancouver is a very expensive city. I don't know if Toronto is a very expensive city either. Or as well, but if it is, if cost of living is higher, then probably starting pay is going to be a little higher for you as well. So kudos on that, man. I just watched a video. Let me see if I can find it. That was talking about highest paying jobs for development. What was it at? Slow down, B. Slow down. Because it has some good stuff in it. Oh, this is it. This is the screen right here. It was one of my newsletters. And I think it was it a Flipboard? It's a bunch of Nipsey Hussle stuff out there today because of his murder yesterday. Shout outs to his lady. It's pretty sad state of affairs there. But I really want to find this. It's gonna frustrate me if I can't find it. Angular material. Anyway, oh, I can't find it. I can't find it. Let me look at my history. Five, where it is. I think it might have been this. Boom. Is this it? Is this it? I think this was it. This is it. Oh, it's playing on my.
Top here. Which languages are the most in demand?
So if you want to strike a decent,
I will post this. This article is about TypeScript programming language, but for some reason, the video that's on it is talking about the most in-demand programming languages. So that's actually really cool. Now I lost my chat window. Where are you guys at? There you go. Boom. All right, let's post this in. There's a nice little link. Oh, the link is too long. It's 229 characters instead of the 200 limit. Boo. Let me see if I can tiny URL it or bit.ly it. Is bit.ly still a thing? I'm about to find out. Bit.ly. Where else? There we go. There we go. Bit.ly link coming up. Boom. Okay. So there's the link there. Let me get some light back. There we go. Okay, cool. So that was talking about some of the most in demand, and I think the number one he talked about was Java and Kotlin. And Kotlin is a new language for writing Android applications, you know, to kind of take over for Java, and may even take over for Java, period, just in general programming. Don't know. And then the second he said was web development, you know, being a web developer. And he made the key distinction that there's a decent gap between being a junior web developer and seniors. He said that there's great money in web development, but it's usually the senior guys that are making that really good money. And I can concur with that. You know, to be making that top dollar is usually senior devs. Junior devs, the key is to close this gap as quickly as possible to go from junior devs to senior dev. And you'll see when you get into the industry that some devs hit that junior dev mark and they're not pushing it. Y'all know me. I'm a pusher. I get in as you let me in the door as junior dev, I'm gonna start climbing that ladder as quickly as possible to get to senior dev because I know this is where the money's at. And there's some devs that'll come in at this junior dev and they'll just ride it out. You know, they'll do year 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, and they may at year 4 or 5, they may just be, you know, intermediate dev or whatever. Whereas me, I went from year 1, junior dev. By the time I was in year 2, 2.5, I already had senior dev titles, which means I was getting senior dev money, you know, because it's just a title, man. You just got to get in and you have to have the mindset for, if you have I'm a junior dev mindset and it's going to take me 5 years to be a senior dev, then it's going to take you 5 years to be a senior dev. If you have the mindset, I'm going to get in here and bust it out and I'm going to work twice as hard as everybody else and I'm going to climb that ladder and I could be a junior dev in 18 or a senior dev in 18 months, 2 years. Like, if you can prove that you can do the same work that a senior dev can do, you can do it. So that's the deal there. But congratulations again, Burke. Do you think AI will replace programming? I think it will be a while before that happens. Do I think there will be a day where that is a norm? Yes, Mr. Mullen, or Miss Mullen. But I think that is still at least a good 20 years off, at least. You got a solid 10 years worth of working and coding, to get to. So if you can get yourself up, you get into the industry making whatever, 30, 40, 50, 60,000, whatever. But if you can get yourself up to that 90, $100,000 mark, and you do that for 10 years, I mean, you literally made $1 million. Now it depends on what you want to do with that $1 million that you've made over a decade. Um, I'm investing that money. That's the other big thing I wanted to talk about is what I've been doing um, on that front is the investing part. I'm gonna get through the questions, then I'm gonna talk about investing, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Congrats birthday to Ramsey. Once I'm done with them, I can show you my LinkedIn resume profile. It would be cool to get good dev to look at them. You'd be okay with that, of course. It's good stuff, man. What about typing speed? Do I need to type fast? No, you don't have to be you don't have to be a world record type person. But I would say you need to know how to type. I've worked with developers before they did the hunt and peck thing, and while they were okay devs, you could definitely tell that was a limiting factor in their productivity. When you are making your living at the keyboard, you should at least know how to type. I don't want to say properly or the normal way, but I mean, you need to be able to use all your fingers when you type, because this is how you make your money. You make your money with this thing here, sending signals down to these things here that make things happen on the screen and in the computer. So if you're a hunt and pecker, you definitely need to work on that and get your, dexterity up with your normal typing, nowadays. The IT guy, head of IT for the client that we're at, is working on his typing now. And he's been an IT guy for 20 years. But he takes typing tests on, I think, typings.com or whatever. Or there's a place that kind of gamifies it, and you can race cars depending on how fast you type and stuff like that, which is really cool. And I dig that. So yeah, that's the deal. That's the deal. Don't have to be a world record holder, but you definitely should be a decent typist, because that's how you get your it's almost like speaking. You don't want to be, if you're getting paid to speak, you don't want to be a slow speaker, because that's limiting your potential, your earning potential. So have a message for you on Discord when the time comes. According to Indeed, Toronto is like New York. Wow, so many job opportunities, and I'm fully ready when it comes to my soft skills, etc. But I just got to get my skills up there for better positions now. It's all good, Burke. Just keep working, keep trying. You're never gonna feel like you're ready skill-wise, because there's always gonna be devs that know way more than you. There's devs that know way more than me right now, in many, many different topics and subjects. And that will always be the case. There's just so much to know that you can never know it all. You can never know half of it. Just get your piece of the pie is all I'm saying. Bitly is saving me after Google Shortener is gone. I hope I can do the same thing, but I gotta change my mindset and get rid of my slacking skills. I know, man. Just whatever. Find your motivation. Even if coding isn't your motivation, like I've even said, I'm not going to be a 20-year developer. I'm not going to be writing code 20 years from now. Well, I may, but it's going to be code for something, one of my ideas or something that I want to put out, maybe. And I may not even be writing that code. I may have hired my own developers to write code for what I need done at that point. I should be a successful businessman owning few different businesses and can afford that to happen. So that's a great segue there. Investing. So I took the step today to start putting feelers out to find me a partner in the Amazon business, because I've kind of been letting that sit on the side and waver, because I got the coding thing going on and the 2 gig thing going on there. and then the trucking thing going on with my trucking business partner there, and so now I need to get another stream of income, in the works, because it takes time for these things to come to fruition, right? I give everything like a year. I get it started, and I'm willing to give it a year to start coming in. The good thing, the great thing about being in a position where you have a career or you do something that generates really good income for you and your family is that you don't have a pressure for a potential investment to need to pay off immediately. So I'm the trucking thing, I'm giving a year. We got to go through, I think it was October, November timeframe to determine, is this going to be a good viable thing long term? Same thing for this Amazon thing. So I need to start the clock to ticking so I can, get that 1 year down and see if it's not, especially if I'm looking for a business partner that I don't know. Like, this is literally going to be a stranger. I put out feelers on some Amazon FBA groups on Facebook, in 3 different groups, and just basically say, I'm looking for a partner that has the drive, motivation, and time to put into being a successful Amazon FBA seller. I'm looking for someone that is simply lacking the funds. I have the funds. I need someone that has the time, the drive, and the passion to make it happen, and I just be the bank for them, and we go in and we split everything, 50-50 kind of thing. So I'm looking for a business partner like that, which is basically like putting out a filler saying, I'm looking for a wife, because you're literally, when you get a business partner, it's like getting a partner in life, because you're going to, live with this not live physically live, but you're going to live with this person in a business aspect, potentially for years, maybe forever. So, that's something where you may have to go through. It's just like dating. You may have to go through a few to find the right match. So I want to start that process now of getting to know and getting a feel for different people, and, starting stuff out there. I may even, in business, being a player in business ain't necessarily a bad thing. So I may go into business with more than one person at the same time. So I might fund person A and person B and person C and see who actually performs, and see who's the best fit for me, So, and I would do, small deals in the beginning with an amount of money that would not hurt me if I lost every penny of it, type thing. I really think that the years that I did poker, I played poker, kind of professionally, for like a year when I was in college, really helped me with the concept of money and losing money and not blowing my brain out or jumping off the building as they did in Wall Street when the thing happened. They were jumping out the windows because they lost all their money. Being able to take risk really is what that is. So I have a decent, risk tolerance. I know what level of money I can risk losing all of it and be okay with, type thing. But you have to pick your partners carefully, because you don't want to be the victim of some scam artists and stuff like that. Because trust me, I've seen it all, man. I've seen it all. People try to scam you. I got a pretty good radar for scam artists, And when I get into those type situations where I'm a business partner with somebody, I only do it if I control the money. So, and I put that out there up front, like, we're gonna do the business account thing in the beginning. I'm controlling the money because it's my money. And then if this thing really starts to become a thing, then that becomes a whole different ball game, and we have the whole, So it's always full transparency. There's never like you don't know what's going on with the money. But I'm saying, if we're purchasing a product, I'm paying the product vendor directly. I'm not sending you no money for you to buy anything. I pay the vendor directly. If we need to have product shipped from China to here, I will pay the shipping broker directly. Like, I control the money. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? And that's the deal. Like, that's the deal. It's take it or leave it, because you know, you don't need me, I don't need you. We ain't got to do this thing. So if you're gonna do it and it's my money, these are my terms. So that's kind of the deal there. So hopefully, in the next, we'll say 6 months, I'll be in partnership with at least one, if not two or three different people on the Amazon sales side. Actually, being in partnership with more than one person could be beneficial, because that gives me less risk. My risk is spread out over, 3 different avenues. And that could also end up being, what if out of 3 people, 2 of them, we actually hit off good and we got good businesses going. Now, instead of having one more stream of income, I got 2 streams of income coming in from Amazon, you know what I'm saying? And then the trucking thing is coming in. And then, after the Amazon thing gets up and going, then those revenues are going to go into real estate, right? And then that's going to be another stream of income coming in. And by that time, buddy, we done. I'm done. I ain't working no more for nobody else, Like that's going to be a wrap for me. That is punch out time, buddy. And then I take that money that funds the lifestyle now, and then I write code for my own ideas. And then that becomes the next stream of income that comes in, is monthly subscription website stuff for ideas that I have. And then we kind of set, we got coding money coming in, we got trucking money coming in, we got Amazon money coming in, we got real estate money coming in, and we cool, chilling, and we living our best life, helping out a lot of people at the same time. And family's good. We're getting to travel, explore different cultures, go all around the world, help a lot of people. And that is me living my best life. That's what I want to do with my life right now. So that's it. So there's my whole life master plan right there. So I put it out there in the universe. So the universe is manifesting and making that stuff start to come to fruition, to happen for me, because I'm doing works. What was that? I grew up in the church, Southern Baptist Church, but I quit going when I was 16. So that's literally more than half my life ago. But it was these things where, what was it? Faith without works is something or something. Basically, you got to do something. A lot of people say, oh, I'm going to manifest this. And they just think about it and wish and hope and dream, but they don't do anything to make it happen. Like, you have to be doing things to make the things that you say actually happen. It's not just prayers and, hoping and wishing and thinking about and visualizing. Like, you need to be doing those things at the same time. And you need to be telling everybody that, well, that's controversial. It depends on who the people around you are. If you're around a bunch of people that don't think like that, then maybe you hold that back to yourself. But what you need to be doing is getting around people that think the way that you think. They think big, and then you need to tell those people and have them hold you accountable to making moves. You guys hold me accountable. I didn't mention the Amazon FBA thing probably for a couple months, and somebody called me out on one of the live stream. Hey, what's going on with the Amazon thing? And then boom, there we go. It's like, dang, they're right, because I was talking about this Amazon thing heavy, and then I stopped talking about it, and somebody called me out on it. So, have you somebody that knows what you're trying to do and that will hold you accountable. Like, I put all that stuff out there to y'all right now. So the people that's in the chat room right now, y'all know that. And if I ain't coming through on some of that, somebody's going to call me out. Like, yo, what's going on with this? You said that, have you found a partner yet, for the Amazon thing? So there you go. There you go. Don't cast your pearls before swine. There you go. Ramsey said, dang, the bank, you made it when you're out of the bank. Hey, I'll make it sound like that. I ain't no millionaire yet, or none of that, but I'm very comfortable. But my whole thing, Grant Cardone had said a thing one time that really stuck with me. He said, I perpetually stay broke. You know what I'm saying? I work and bust my butt hard, and I generate a lot of capital. I generate a big nest egg, and then I take that nest egg and I put it to work. I put it in the market. I put it somewhere, put it to work. He's a real estate guy. So he puts it into a real estate project. boom. And then he goes and gets back on the grind and builds another nest egg. And then he puts it to work. And then he's broke again. So he got to grind and do it. But he's constantly putting capital to work. And that's what I want to do. Any excess money I get, I ain't going out to buy the Lamborghini. I ain't going out to, none of that stuff. I'm taking that capital and I'm putting it to work. And right now, there are times where I feel like I'm broke, because I got money sunk into the trucking business or whatever it may be. But that is money that is building to come back to me, So that's the deal there, Even a little bit, I got a little deposit last on Friday from the trucking business. It's the good thing about the trucking business. It's a weekly pay in the trucking business. So if you look at it, I don't care. For me, I don't care if it's $100 that come in on Friday. Like that's $100 that I didn't have, and that's coming back in, and it's like free money, and somebody else is out there doing it. Somebody else is driving that truck to generate that money to come in. Now Friday was a lot more than $100. I'll tell you that much. And I take that money and I put it to work for me. So that's the deal and the dream, and that's why I'm doing all of this. That's what the code is behind and everything. We talk about code, but I like to go past that and look at the bigger picture. Like, don't just stop at being a programmer. Oh, I make 60,000, 80,000 a year, 110,000 a year. Like, don't get caught up in those numbers. You got to think about what can those numbers do for me that really will take me to where now I can affect hundreds or thousands of other people's lives with the things that I can do with that money, So build an empire so that you're doing something more than yourself. You know me, I'm about more than yourself. Don't stop at thinking about your family. Think about hundreds or thousands of other people that you can affect, on this world, so that when you're dying, you got tons of, like Nipsey Hussle got killed yesterday, right? This rapper got killed yesterday, and the whole internet is like pouring out their hearts to him because he had such an effect on so many people. He talked about it wasn't just gang bang rap music that he did. He was talking about business and investing and putting back into your community and all this stuff. He opened a shop, a clothing store, when he could have opened it on what is it, Rodeo or Hollywood or whatever. He went back to Crenshaw, and the Compton, LA area in the hood, and opened his place because he believed in putting back into his community. And he was employing people in the community and giving back, monetarily to people in the community, like all kinds of stuff he was doing. So when he died yesterday, people are pouring their hearts out because his reach was bigger than just him and his family. He could have kept all that money, just him and his family, been rich and balling and all that stuff, but he chose to put it out there. I'm gonna touch a whole bunch of people, and that's the whole thing there. When I check out, I want a whole bunch of people to be like, man, he was really doing it when he was here, and he affected a lot of people. So what's funny is when you hold some people accountable, they want to call you mean. No, that ain't mean, man. The sting of accountability burns hot. I'll tell you that. So the people that want to call you mean for holding them accountable, they just don't like that sting of accountability, man. Somebody call you on it like, yo, you said you was gonna do this, man. You like, because people give themselves excuses in their lives. They give you excuses. They give themselves excuses as to why they're not achieving what they would want to achieve. Me and a lady had this conversation yesterday in the car driving, and we've had this conversation on more than one occasion, but it keeps coming back around. Like, my son, right, just got a job at Del Taco, right? First job, 17 years old, and we were looking at, one of the guys, and there was this older guy that was walking in. This is a brand new Taco Bell, not even open yet, like they're doing the training, right? Older guy walking in, and she said, man, I wonder how he ended up in that situation. And that kicked it off. We started the conversation like, yeah, because if you take somebody, if you take a kid that's in high school and you say, yo, when you're 50 years old, where do you see yourself? I can almost bet you that 99% of them ain't gonna say when I'm 50 years old, I'm gonna be working at Taco Bell. I'm gonna be working at Walmart. You know, I'm gonna be working at, insert random fast food place or random retail store here. That's not their plan. And the reason that they're in those places is because they didn't have a plan to begin with. And so you became part of somebody else's plan. So my sister Jess texts me now. That's why I paused. That is funny that I said didn't have a plan, and she texted me saying I need a few blemishes off of my credit report. Who do I go to for that? And that's my sister. I love her to death, but the first thought came to my head is a few blemishes. Like, I don't want to put her business out there. But anyway, have a plan. I get daily reminders of people that don't have plans, just like that. If you don't have a plan, you're going to become part of somebody else's plan. So it's an important thing. I've been thinking a lot about money and how to teach my stepson about money and to make sure he's off on the right trajectory. Like, I would love for him to never go through any of the pitfalls that 9 out of 10 of us go through, getting into debt or credit card debt and just not understanding how the financial system works and how it is gained to get you. It right now you start off at this purity state, right, where you have no financial responsibilities, right? And when you're young, you want to have things. You want to have things that now get you to having financial responsibility. And it's somebody said a good thing, like everything you get that has a monthly bill is like putting you on you're basically putting somebody on your payroll. So if you get a car note, that car note is now on your payroll. The insurance is on your payroll. Your cell phone bill is on your payroll. The rent you got is on your payroll. Your light bill is on your payroll. So now it don't matter if you don't want to work. You got to work because those things need to be paid. And if they don't, if you don't work for them from that point on, you lose them. And it's the perfect opportunity to make sure he knows everything he needs to know to be off on the right foot and not get into any debt. I started early, getting him on the credit card, so he has a credit profile already that he's not even aware of. And just doing things that I wish people would have done for me when I was that age, So that's the main thing, because I wanted to do good and avoid the pitfalls that I ran into. I didn't even know anything about a checking account or none of that stuff, or what is it, overdraft. And I've been through it all. Like when I was younger, overdrafting accounts and being in the negative all the time. And the sad thing is, my sister's like that now. I went to send her some money, and she said, "Oh no, don't send it to that bank account because it's in the negative. It's going to eat up all the money you're sending me." I'm like, "What? You're 50 years old. Like, yo, you should have learned. Like, how are you 50 years old with overdrawn bank accounts to where I'm trying to send you money to help you, and I can't even send it to the bank because you $300 in the negative." Like, yo. But at the same time, I feel that way. I can't be mad if nobody ever taught her. If she was never taught, you can't be mad. So my whole thing is to teach my kids these things so that they know and they don't fall into, because I see what can happen if you don't teach them and you just say, "Oh, they'll figure it out or they'll learn on their own." you are jacking them up. You're jacking their future up. If you don't teach them how to balance a bank account, you don't teach them about credit and credit card, because credit can be a sword or it can be a sledgehammer to your head, and it depends on how you want to use it. It can help you out in your life, to get ahead if you use it properly. But 9 out of 10 people don't know how to use it properly. So people just say avoid credit altogether, because if you don't understand it, it will hurt you. So those are things that are on my mind when it comes to my kids. And I haven't had to think about it now, but he's getting older and getting a job and all that stuff. So I really want to make sure that he's set off very well. So that's the deal. Anyway, I gotta go. I promised the lady it wouldn't be that long, but there you go. Do you rent the truck out, renting it out to companies? Yeah, that's kind of the way it goes. In the trucking business, they call it leasing instead of renting. So you lease on to a company, and basically you let them use your truck to pull their loads, So that's how the trucking, we're leased on to a oil field company, and we pull sand for frac sand drilling for that company, and that company pays us for the right to use our truck to move their product, is how that works. And then there's a driver that drives the truck for me, and he gets a cut of what the company pays to the truck. He gets 25% of that, or 30% of that goes to him. And then the rest, we cover the expenses with all the fuel and any maintenance that had to happen. And then myself and my partner split what's left over every week. Is kind of how that flows, kind of thing. So that's a good one. I need to use that quote. Feel free to use whatever I said. I don't know what I said. Sounds exactly like what Dave Ramsey says. That's exactly how they beat people having prepaid cards because their bank accounts are negative. I'm telling you, man, the main thing is to pick the right spouse who is good with money. I got blessed in that standpoint, because my lady's like very good with money. Like, she handles the books for the house, and it takes such a weight off of my shoulders because I don't have to worry about like paying the bill. She just tells me what we need every month, and then she divvies it up. I put it in the account, and she divvies it up and pays all the bills. She's very frugal. I never have to worry about her with money. We've been together so long, like we were broke together. So she has the value of the money. Even though we're doing well now, she knows that it could go away any day. And she remembers what it was like when we were broke. So she's very careful with the money. And I I told her the other day, like, I couldn't imagine us not working out and me getting into another relationship with somebody else, because I could never trust that another person would value the money that I make the same way that she does. So, that's just another reason for us to always make sure we work it out, because I don't want to get with nobody else and they'd be like, oh, he got money. Like, I want a bag and shoes and others and let's go out to eat and others. Like, she's not like that. She's not into having a closet full of shoes. She ain't got a bunch of handbags. She don't like fine dining. So we ain't going out to those, fancy steakhouses and restaurants. Like, none of that. That's just not her character. So I don't have to worry about that. And to get with somebody else that is like that can just go through the money without even thinking about it. Like, oh, he got it. Like, I got it, but I ain't trying to spend it all on, what I'm saying? I'm trying to build some stuff over here. I ain't trying to like live this lifestyle to impress you type thing. So, that's a big thing, is having somebody that is good with the money. Tyler, I hope you heard what he said about holding people accountable. So it wasn't there. So yeah, thank you for your knowledge and wisdom. All right, people, I appreciate y'all stopping by, spend a little time with me today. I'm gonna call that a wrap for the week, and I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.